Are we ready? Well, welcome to everyone, especially those millions of viewers that are watching at home across Western New York. We welcome you to the Board of Education review session and then actual voting meeting at 7 o'clock. And we also thank our live studio audience. There is additional seating in the last couple of rows if you're looking for a seat here. So welcome to all our live studio audience and all of those that are watching. We wish you well. Members of the Board of Education, we have a voting meeting at 7 o'clock. There is no need for an executive session this evening. We have two presentations, and I'll get into them in a moment. We're going to hear from Say Yes in a minute. Then we're going to do an agenda review. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I want to make sure we have time for the agenda review before 7. And if we have time prior to that, I'll begin the budget. If we don't, I'll do the budget during my report or right after the voting meeting takes place. But without any further commentary, I want to introduce our first topic. And before I do that, I want to recognize a member of the audience that we are so honored to have here. He is a gentleman, a kind gentleman, a giving gentleman, and one of our great partners in the school district. I'm speaking about Gary Hall. Mr. Gary Hall is with us. And Gary, I wanted to recognize you not just for being here this evening, but for your partnership with your facility next door, for your always willing spirit to support us and say whatever you need. So, Mr. Hall, it's an honor to have you here, and we thank you for everything you've done for the community and will do in the future. So thank you for being with us. You're welcome. Yes. You won't find a better man than Gary Hall. When I was giving that introduction, Stu Lowe was getting ready to stand up and bow, but I was talking about Gary Hall, Stu. I want to just introduce our presentation and our guests right now. Say Yes Buffalo is something that I have been watching closely for the past 10 years or so. I can't tell you how impressed I am with the Say Yes organization and what they've done for the students of the Buffalo School District. So I really want to give a shout out and compliment to the Buffalo School District and their leadership right now. Dr. Williams, who's their superintendent, and Ms. Belton Cotman and all the board members that we've gotten to know. I want to give a shout out because they've got that district on the right track, heading in the right direction, doing some great things, and we consider them partners as well. But around the Buffalo School District, and I should say infused in the Buffalo School District, has been this program called Say Yes Buffalo. And I have been watching with great interest about Say Yes and the support over 16 different initiatives that they're giving the students of Buffalo. And it's always been really a dream, I mean this sincerely, a dream of ours to be able to have that same partnership in Niagara Falls because of the impact that it has on kids and communities. And I am honored to have forged a relationship, but beyond that, a friendship with the executive director, David Rust, and his dynamic partner, Daphne Ross. And we've spent a lot of time together over the course of the last year or so, I think. It's been a year, and we, as I've been telling you, we're on the precipice of something that I think will be a game changer in Niagara Falls beyond the great things that are happening. And I am going to ask you for your attention and ultimate support on the presentation David and Daphne are going to make. And without saying any more, I want to introduce you to my friend, David Rust, Daphne Ross from Say Yes Buffalo. Come on up.
Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Dave Rust with Say Yes. Looking forward to sharing a little bit about our work this evening with you and the guests that are on the screen tonight. Let's turn this on here. There we go. Okay, so a little bit before we jump into this, I really want to echo Mark's sentiments about our partnership with the Buffalo Public Schools, and I mean that word sincerely. This is a partnership. We feel we're a strategic partner of them. Nothing we do works without great partnership with the school district. That includes our superintendent. Tanja's an amazing woman. The school board under the leadership of Sharon Kottman, the administrators, the teachers that work in the schools, the principals, their supporting team members. We firmly believe that everyone in our community is potential, but not everyone has always been given opportunity. And the work of Say Yes, partnering closely with the Buffalo Public Schools, has been critical to unlocking opportunity for students in the city of Buffalo. So Buffalo is our home. We love the Buffalo Public Schools. We love the work that we are doing there. I'd also like to credit the majority leader for setting up this meeting maybe a year and a half ago with the superintendent and the mayor's office, and asking us, would we be able to avail the same opportunities that students in Buffalo have to students in the city of Niagara Falls. And I have the benefit of moving in a lot of rooms, and I certainly believe that when we can take a regional approach to talent development and opportunity for everybody, we can and we should. And that's what Say Yes Buffalo has been all about. I'm not going to go through the full history of our work here. I'm going to point to a couple slides and then certainly welcome your questions. And I'm also going to ask my colleague Daphne to take a little bit of our work. So this is the model we built in Buffalo. It's scholarships. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we are really well known for a scholarship promise for all graduates of the public and charter schools in the city of Buffalo, that if they complete high school, that we will support a last dollar scholarship for a certificate, a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, or an apprenticeship. And students have used this by the thousands. I'll talk about that. Comprehensive supports and stronger public schools through the partnership I mentioned, that would lead to a stronger post-secondary entrance rate and a stronger economy in Buffalo and Western New York. I think the slide makes sense. The more education you have, it clearly makes a difference. The more likely you are to be employed, the more money you are likely to make. And clearly, this is an economic strategy too. There's some direct economic Say Yes to Say Yes Buffalo that I'm going to point to in a couple of minutes. But, this makes sense socially and it really makes sense economically. And you can look at the data here. When we had launched our work, the graduation rate in our city schools was 49%. Today it's at 79%. That's a difference of over 4,000 students, 4,300 students that have graduated. And the spending power they have in our community. We want all students to have access to a good education and a good job, and to stay in the Buffalo region and contribute to our economy. And we would envision something similar here in Niagara Falls as we have entered into these exploratory discussions that we are all very interested in make happen. We've had over 10,000 students enroll in post-secondary programs in the last decade since we launched Say Yes. And the data speaks to itself here. It's real and it's happening, and it's not one-off. These are beautiful students that are earning the opportunity to go on to that certificate, 2-year degree or 4-year degree, and making a difference in Buffalo. This is a regional data point, Buffalo, Niagara Falls, 170,000 open jobs in the next decade, with 2/3 requiring some type of post-secondary credential. So our opportunity is, here in our urban cores to help drive our economy and give everyone opportunity. So some data points from our first 10 years. In no way do we take credit for this. It's our school district that has led the charge on this. Again, we have a very meaningful partnership with Say Yes in our Buffalo Public Schools. You can see here the good work in the school district has boosted the graduation rate 30 percentage points. The college going rate is up 17 percentage points, and the post-secondary completion rate is up 14 percentage points. I can confidently say there's not another city in the country that has had these types of gains in the last decade. And there's some small print there, but what that small print shows is that we are outperforming similar districts across the country when it comes to these data points. So the work is real, it's happened. And these are some of our alums. We have over 3,000 college completers, a few thousand more that are in the pipeline right now. I love this picture because these are alums that are working at Say Yes Buffalo now. We have a number of alums working there directly with our team. We employ over 200 people at Say Yes Buffalo now. We are diverse, and it's been a real success story, and we love that we have become an employer of choice for our young people. You can see here the breakdown of degree types that students are earning, so it's broad and it's varied. 60% bachelor's, 34% associates, 4% certificates. One of the portfolio items we've been discussing with the superintendent is an apprenticeship work that comes with a certificate. My colleague Daphne will talk about that a little bit more shortly. So, how do we pay for all this? We raised a lot of money. So we started the first 10 years raising $29 million from Buffalo private sector. businesses, individuals, and foundations that believed in our children and wanted to contribute to their opportunity to go earn a degree. All of that came from private sector. We raised that money, we spent it, we raised it in the beginning in particular with close support from our community foundation in Buffalo, which also has a Niagara area fund. That was spent between the fall of 2013 and the spring of 2023. And we decided that if it was successful, that we were going to work to raise an endowment that would support this promise forever for children in Buffalo's public and charter schools, all 40,000 of those students. So we have some updates from this slide. So our goal was a $65 million endowment, and we have $61 million of that raised. We're going to close our campaign at the end of June. Where that came from, $20 million has come from New York State. That's been led by the majority leader, Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Senator Kennedy, their partners in government, and the governor. So a tremendous commitment from government to support our students. And the remainder, the 40 million plus, has come from Buffalo businesses, individuals, and foundations. This was a big campaign in Buffalo, the biggest outside of a cultural or the colleges, but what a beautiful gift and an investment in the history of our city. You know, this will be here 100 years from now, bigger than it is, still helping students. I'd also like to point to, we had one anonymous investor that pledged the 6th largest gift in the history of the region towards kids in the city of Buffalo and did not want a named fund for that. So it's been a success story. It has not been easy. You know, if we're able to develop a partnership here, we would take a similar approach. It's a much more feasible number given the size of the district. And I'll talk a little bit about what next steps on that would look like shortly. It's a last dollar scholarship. It comes after federal Pell Grants and New York State TAP Grants. The state's Excelsior Scholarship is a discussion we could have on a scholarship model here, but I would just want to note that. We also have some grants for students with the most economic need and ability to give them some more resources for food, for transportation, for books, things of that nature. So I'll be back up in a moment. The scholarship is one core piece of what we do, but we do a lot more. You know, we knew when we launched this, I've been there from day one, and the question we always got was, how are you going to help a student that needs proper food, clothing, shelter, access a scholarship? That won't mean a lot, and that individual is absolutely right. We've got really talented kids. Some of them have complicated lives. So this is the infrastructure we've built in Buffalo, and Daphne is going to speak to this and the components that we've talked about with your superintendent as well, too. So I'll be back up in a moment.
I love how David gets right to the point, too. That's he is a master. Thank you, David. Well, Daphne, welcome, and I want to thank you for your support and your partnership. It's been wonderful getting to know you. What's your connection to Niagara Falls? Did you work here, live here? Do you have a connection?
I did not. I'm born and raised Buffalo. I went through Buffalo Public Schools. I was in corporate communications before joining NFCSD about 10 years ago. So I have family in Niagara Falls. Okay. But yes, I will just talk briefly about the services and supports. As Dave mentioned, this is our full portfolio of supports that we offer from birth through college completion and really to career. We have met with Mr. Laurie, with Stan over the past year and really narrowed in on the programs and services that we think are a best fit if this partnership becomes let's say yes in Niagara Falls. So I'll start with, you can't see it on the first column under the birth through 12th, but that is, that circle is Saturday Academy, and that is in partnership with the Buffalo Public Schools. We are a district of community schools, and on Saturdays and on the weeknights, the schools are open for activity for the students of that school, but also the community at large. So no longer is the school closing at 3 o'clock on a Friday and not reopening until Monday. It's open to the community. It's there as a resource for families to do academic work, but also cultural and fun activities as well. And if anyone would want to see a Saturday Academy, we could definitely make that happen. They happen every Saturday at different schools of the 24 different community schools in Buffalo. The next, in the middle column, the next two are our Boys and Men of Color initiative and our apprenticeship work. Our Boys and Men of Color work is a program that we started about 5 years ago for boys and men of color from the ages of 12 to 24. It's a leadership development program, and it really helps them find their voice and their leadership in policies and initiatives that are affecting them as young men of color. So they look at district policies. They looked at the busing policy in Buffalo and wanted to make a change so that it helped them, but also helped the broader school district and students as well. So it's a brotherhood, honestly. It's called Breaking Barriers, and we thought that this would be a wonderful initiative to potentially bring. The apprenticeship work is a pathway out of high school. These are for the students that are not going down that traditional 2-year, 4-year, full-time college route. These are the students that want access to the workforce immediately. So about 3 years ago, we launched this new pathway after having provided the scholarship since 2013, this new path to really reach those students that weren't taking advantage of the scholarship. So they might want to, or they might need to support their families and have access to the workforce immediately. So we partner with local employers, and they are learning while they're earning. They're learning an entry-level skill, and ultimately the goal is that they will finish their apprenticeship in 2 or 3 years, and at the end they will have a full-time job offer of at least $45,000, which is a family-sustaining wage in our region. So we're super excited about expanding that program. And then finally, the tuition scholarship, as Dave mentioned, the model in Buffalo is a last dollar tuition scholarship. After New York State TAP and federal Pell Grants, we pay the balance of the tuition for students going to any SUNY school that graduate from Buffalo and are on their way to college. So we're super excited about this partnership. Thank you.
So one of the things that we did, Dave, Daphne, Stan, and I, is we looked at these 16 pillars. And we made a determination that it's impossible to do 16 things at one time, first of all. But secondly, I proudly say we evaluated and assessed that some of these 16 pillars we were already doing. Let me give you an example. Early childhood development. You know we run Head Start. That was a natural to not put as a priority. But we felt that the 4 oval circled anchors were the 4 that would have the greatest impact and needs on our students, and that's how they were selected. So I just wanted to point out to you that every one of them are important. We're just at a different level as a district with the ones that aren't circled. Dave, is that correct?
Yeah, you've done great work here, and you know, it's meant to complement the work that happens here. And I think each community should be an adaptation, not an adoption. You know, say yes Niagara Falls should look different than say yes Buffalo would. I would note too, the programmatic elements, I really want to give a shout out to our superintendent again, Dr. Williams. Just an amazing woman, I've known her a long time. Our mayor, Mayor Brown, and our county executive, Mark Polenkars. They've funded a lot of this, and it's work that they choose to do, not that they have to do by mandate. Our leadership has really poured into this as a educational and economic development strategy in Buffalo. The program elements. The tuition, again, you know, 2/3 private sector and 1/3 New York State. A little bit about our scholarships too. I just wanted to note, a question we get is where can they go? So our students can go to any SUNY and CUNY college, any public college in New York State, 100 private colleges around the country. That includes every Ivy League institution, includes Duke and Georgetown, it includes the regional colleges that are strong, the Villa Maria colleges and Canisius's regional schools like University of Rochester, RIT, Syracuse. It's an amazing opportunity. It provides access to everyone and choice within that. What I mean by choice is if you want to get a quick phlebotomy certificate, covered. You want to go pre-law, pre-med, or get an electrical engineering degree, there's a pathway for you there too. This was an expansion of our work, the apprenticeship model, and that is because, you know, our students have extreme economic need. Many of them have to go to work right away, and many of them in college are working 2 jobs. So this was a model meant for students that could earn while they learn and have access to a good paying job immediately after the finish of their apprenticeship. So we launched apprenticeship in 3 tracks: business operations, IT, and advanced manufacturing. We signed up a number of employers: M&T Bank, Riches, Wegmans, Moog, the Buffalo News, 5 Star. I could go on and on with the list. And they hire students right when they finish high school. So they're working 15 to 20 hours a week. They are taking a couple courses while they're doing that for 3 years, and they have a guarantee of at least a $45,000 job on the back end. So a relevant example, a young man graduated from Hutch Tech last year, is in the 2nd year of his apprenticeship at M&T Bank in accounting. He's taking business and finance courses at a Buffalo college. This is all real, getting paid the whole time. So he's halfway through his apprenticeship now, and a year and a half from now, he'll have that job in accounting at M&T Bank. So it's a great opportunity to add to our portfolio, which is needed. You know, we need to continue to evolve as an organization and support the needs of the students in the Buffalo community. We say we a lot at Say Yes. We have an incredible board of directors, of community leaders, private sector leadership. It's been one of our real strengths since day one. So this is our current board of directors that are representing our work. I'd also like to note on the next slide that we have formed an operating committee. We formed this over a decade ago. This is an advisory body, a public-private sector partnership that has met for over 11 years now. Our superintendent's office is there, our mayor's office is there, our superintendent. There's union leadership at the table. We've developed a real meaningful relationship with the unions in Buffalo. There's parent leadership, there's student voice at the table, institutes of higher education, philanthropy is at the table, and it's been really important to our work here, and it's something that we would feel was important to guide an advisory work, if as we continue to explore Niagara Falls, that would be an important part of the portfolio too. And then finally, we really lean on our partners in government and private sector to chair our work and to lead it going forward. And we simply would not be, you can have a vision, but without the resources and partnership to pull it off, it wouldn't have been able to do this. So there's been a lot of people that have really helped guide the work here. So the final slide I want to share is just where we're at in this. So I mentioned, a year or so ago, the majority leader had asked us to take a look. There was a degree of interest on our end. Certainly have gotten excited about getting to know Mark better and the friendship we've developed with him and Stan, and really interested about a regional approach to good jobs for young people. So as we've worked through this, you can see the deliverables we put in place this year. We're running some data to try and understand what an endowed scholarship would look like for Niagara Falls. We've taken a couple key stakeholder meetings up here with Father Maher at NU, with Gary Hall. We're developing a budget for what potential expansion would look like. And then this is key, meeting with you and meeting with your union leadership. We have taken everything that we have done in Buffalo and provided it to our union and given them sign off on our jobs. And, that's been a real critical partner to us in Buffalo and one we would want here. I think looking ahead, if the number that comes back is feasible on a scholarship model, we would be committed to working up here in Niagara County and the city of Niagara Falls to try and raise a scholarship. And we'd be willing to put in our time to try and do that. So we're running those numbers right now. If it's feasible, we would want to take a look at that in the fall. We would want to go really deep on key stakeholder briefings and engagement, potentially form that advisory committee and plan for program launch. And if things look good, 25, 26, we could see something launching around then. So, we've been exploring, talking. I think we were both interested and feel it'd be good for Say Yes and good for Niagara Falls to develop a partnership. You'd be critical to this. We would need champions and stakeholders here to support this initiative. It's about hope and systems change for children across the city and an asset that's just an incredible place in this country, which is the city of Niagara Falls. So we're excited. We will keep you briefed. There's a lot of steps left to take, but we thought this was an important one, and I'm really thankful they invited us out to talk tonight.
Yeah, before we open it up for questions, and I'm sure there are some, I just wanted to contextualize the fact that I've been messaging the 9 board members, speaking about it, but I felt that it was at the point now where you needed to meet David, you needed to meet Daphne, you needed to see and hear something a little bit more tangible. We didn't want to get too far ahead of our board without doing that. That's an aggressive timeline, but we don't have time to waste. We do not have time to wait. The other thing I will tell you, David and Daphne, and I mean this sincerely, it is a very, very, very difficult time to be a school board member in this country. Very difficult time I don't think we've ever seen. And this board, and you can watch, as they say, you can watch the tape. This board has risen to the occasion to do 2 things consistently. Number 1, handle themselves, the public, and the community with absolute dignity and decorum. They will not accept anything less than dignity and decorum as teachers themselves. And secondly, push to find resources to help our kids achieve. We too are proud of our graduation rate that has moved from 67% to 86%. And it's no accident, it's due to a lot of hard work on all those stakeholder part. But this 9-member board has never said no in a Say Yes presentation to funding for student programs, student supports, student trips, student crazy ideas that I bring to them, if they think it'll better students, they say yes. With that, I will open the floor up to questions.
So on scholarship, we have slightly over 2,000 and that's the apprenticeship model too. Then for each of our programs, it's a unique number. But for example, the Saturday Academies, we'll probably get about 25,000 individuals through the doors this year. For each of our program, we have numbers that ties back to how many students we're able to serve. The Saturday Academies that Buffalo Public runs with us are amazing. I mean, superintendent came out to one, and how many people are in the building that Saturday? 300, 200?
Easy. Sometimes you couldn't get through the hall.
Yeah. He's serious.
Mobbed.
Yeah, it's that crowded.
Mobbed.
Yeah.
It's parents too. It wasn't just kids.
Yeah.
Just please know it was parents doing parent workshops, have parents in a STEM room I remember seeing, parents cooking while their kids were doing something else in the theater. You had to squeeze by to get through the hall.
Not everything's that large. Our social service caseworkers, we have 25 amazing men and women, and they carry caseloads of 22 students at a time, 25 students. So varies by program, but they're heavily utilized.
One of the, I just want to, I don't want to get too far ahead, but something that I just want to call to the board members' attention, because I know they're interested, I'm interested in scholarships. But you did mention this is something that goes to a Niagara Falls or Buffalo student that's been with them for a time being. You transfer into school in 12th grade, you don't just jump into the say. I want to be upfront with them.
Yeah, we have a model built. The longer you're in the school district, the more you receive. There's a minimum of grades 9 through 12 built in. Again, all the money we've raised is for Buffalo, so we would have to enter another campaign here for Niagara Falls, and I would assume the countywide partners, people that are in, outside the city of Niagara Falls that are interested in, educational attainment and economic development, because it's critical to the region. But we can tweak if we did something, the scholarship model. I'd certainly be open to that. We want to get it right, but I think those residency requirements are important. Yes, sir.
What's the criteria for a student to get in the program?
So they have to graduate a Buffalo public or charter school, attend that school from at least grade 9 on,
Okay.
Be a city Buffalo resident, and complete their federal and state financial aid forms every year. Those are the 4 qualifiers.
So there's all right.
Yeah. Can you say that again? Yeah, there's so we have what's called an opportunity grant for students that fall within $800 of full federal Pell Grant eligibility. For those living on campus, we provide an additional $2,600. For those that are commuting, an additional $400 for them to, that will grow in time. That's, I think, phase 2 of our scholarship model is more support for students with the most need. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. You mentioned Dr. Mahar, and you're working with Niagara. Are you working with Niagara County Community College?
We have Buffalo students that attend both institutions there, Niagara and NTRIP.
And that would be one of our key approaches.
Yeah, we would want to do stuff with them. I know they're critical anchors up here. You have a lot of students at those institutions. There's a lot we could do around raising money even for those institutions in addition to the others.
David, Daphne, my enthusiasm continues to grow. I think this is a game changer for Niagara Falls. Did you have a question, Russ?
I just think it's unbelievable.
This gentleman did.
Go ahead,
I
Russ.
just think it's unbelievable, and I just could not imagine doing this. I mean, it's so positive. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
the
you
words.
for your consideration.
And I'm going to give you the first business to go to for a large endowment. It's a little place called Capital Cleaners on Main Street. It has, it can turn in all the lost shirts and sport coats, and we could raise almost $1 million just by collecting those lost shirts and sport coats and turning them into dollars. That's Russ's business. And yeah, go ahead, Robin.
Just, first of all, wonderful presentation by both of you. I'm a big fan of PowerPoint presentations that are not delivered in a PowerPoint presentation fashion. It was really to the point. When you started this, did you anticipate the outpouring of opportunities from a funding perspective? And how hard did you have to work to accomplish the goal of, getting, let's just use numbers, right? So you get your first $1 million, you get your first $5 million, then you start getting traction from donors, right? That know this is something and, a real opportunity. Buffalo is similar from a school district perspective as Niagara Falls, but from an opportunity to raise funding, I think we probably will have, potentially some uphill battles there that you might not have encountered. Could you just kind of give me a temperature of how you think that process will go so that we can see numbers such as 20+ million and 60+ million of endowment?
I think it's going to be difficult. That would probably be the hardest part of the engagement in the portfolio in the community, but I think it's worth giving a shot and thinking big, and if you don't get all the way there, then you make some decisions. This was really hard in Buffalo too. This is a big number in Buffalo. We didn't talk about the endowed figure when we kicked this off. We just focused on, we had 15 million raised, we needed to raise 15 million more to get us through the first decade. And with that, we had to prove results. You can't get entitled on this. You got to continue to perform. There's a lot of need in Buffalo. But I think this was quickly viewed as not a perfect solution, but a solution to some of our city's challenges. And when we were able to have early results like you saw here, a lot more private sector resources started to flow behind it, and that enabled us to kick off the endowment campaign. Now, your graduation rate's different than it was here when we started, right? There's not as much room to go. So I think you are definitely got to decide what matters and how you measure it, what we're going to consider success, and then go tell a compelling story. I mean, this is clearly working from an educational and an economic perspective, and that's the way we'd approach it here. And we'd see what we can raise, but I know it'll be hard. That'll be the hardest part of all this.
Yeah. And it sounds like it was hard when you started it, and look what you've accomplished, right? So it gives us hope and excitement. But I think to Russ's point, we should definitely encourage people to play back this board meeting in the first 45 minutes because, this is exciting and this is something special and really impactful to the community. So great work to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will play it back and we will promote it, and there will be a strategy for promoting it when we get there. And yeah, I'm hoping, because I did get some calls, I'm hoping that people will watch this board meeting and we'll use this board presentation, which was outstanding, as we go forward and meet with different groups, right down to the principals and the staff. And I know one of our next steps is to bring David and Daphne with our union representation. That's one of our next steps that we need to do, and it's going to come on the calendar in February, and we'll set that date then. So it is, I really appreciate your enthusiasm. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be well worth it, and it's going to be a game changer. It is going to be a game changer, not just for our students, but for our city. And you've always, as a board, operated with that in mind, because our students are our city, and we want them to continue to be. So I say yes to a great job. I say yes to thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to continued conversations. Thank you,
Mark.
Dave and Daphne.
Thank you. Appreciate the time tonight. Thanks.
Great to see you, Mr. Hall. Ray, if you put up the, thank you, David. If you would put up the, yes, thank you, Ray. I just want to make, we're really doing well on time. I just want to make sure we go through the board agenda thoroughly, and I thank our architect, engineer, and construction team, because we do have a number of things to go through. We'll have the regular events at the beginning. There are no budget transfers. There is a budget transfer. There are 6 bids. 6 bids. All 6 of the bids are related to the Breath of Fresh Air capital project. And as you know, we have a general construction contractor in Scrufari who intend to put forward to you. They've been descoped by these gentlemen and more. We have a plumbing contractor who is MKS, who has been descoped. We have two different HVAC contractors. One of them is Danforth, one for LaSalle, one for Gaskill. And then the third HVAC contractor on the bid that we're asking you to approve is for the boiler plant at Cataract. It was an alternate. We believe we have money in the budget based on the good bidding environment to get the Cataract boiler. And the winning apparent low bidder, Greater Niagara Mechanical, which is a local firm. I believe it's out of the town of Niagara, maybe? Northtown and Wheatfield. We haven't worked with them in the past, but Stu, Chris, Tony, Bill, Earl tell me that they're a good firm. They were descoped well, and we got an alternate in there to do the Cataract boiler. So that's the reason there are so many HVACs. Two of them are for Danforth, one Gaskill, one LaSalle. One for Greater Niagara, that's for the Cataract boiler. That's a much smaller contract. And of course, our electrical contractor is Fry. Fry Electric, which we had three bidders. Fry was the apparent low bidder and descoped to have everything necessary in their bid. I'm pleased on a couple of accounts. Number one, we came in within budget and were able to get all but one alternate in there right now. We will come back to that one alternate when we get into this project a little bit, but I don't want to cut the budget too close. I'm pleased because the bidders are local. And I'm talking within Western New York. We're talking Danforth and Scrufari and this Greater Niagara company I don't know. I'm pleased because they're going to put a lot of local people to work. A lot of local people to work. And I'm pleased because they understand, and on February the 9th, right here in this room, they will be all vetted against the project labor agreement so that those contractors, follow to a T the project labor agreement. Tony will run that meeting and we'll make sure that that is right on target. And I'm finally pleased because we're going to get some more work done. What are we going to get done? For those listening, we're going to put a state-of-the-art greenhouse next to Bleneva Bond Primary School. Never been done before. We are going to finish this district and have air conditioning in every single school, Gaskill and LaSalle being the last two. Never thought we'd have air conditioning in every school in this district for the comfort and safety of our kids. I'm pleased that we have a contractor that's like Scrufari that will lead us in upgrading the safety of this district, meaning window film on all first floor windows, meaning a secured vestibule with a double door to have to come through in a slot to if you don't need to be in, and more cameras, a new proc system, and the most up-to-date security portfolio that we could possibly have. That's just a smattering of what I'm so excited about that this project will bring, and we will, if approved, we will give notices to begin tomorrow, which I'm super excited about fulfilling that promise. And we received nearly every alternate, and I promise you we're going to work to get that last alternate, which was the filling of those two oil tanks, right? The two fuel tanks? Yes, sir. That's the only thing that we didn't get in. We're really close. I'm hoping that they'll hold their bid for 45 to 60 days. I'm hoping we can get that in right now. If we can't, I'll find another way to do it, but we'll have had everything that we wanted to get done and advertised in that. I just didn't want to cut it too close with those oil tanks, and I wanted to just give a little cushion. And that's why I'm not asking you to accept that right now. I just wanted to breathe a little bit, but I will get that done. Any comments from the team? Stu? You better be. Tony?
Again, it's a pleasure to work with you gentlemen again. I just want to reiterate another idea that's already been sent with our PLA agreement. It is imperative that these local people are on these jobs. Right now, the electricians have people on the bench, and I'm sure they would like to go to work in their own county or in their own city. So I'm going to be kind of a stickler about it. I want to make sure that these people aren't sitting on that bench. I want to make sure that they're working. And no matter, I don't care if it's ABC or XYZ contractor, but I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to be a stickler with it, because these people deserve a break. And no matter who the contractor is, they need to employ, because electricians have a different agreement than the plumbers. The plumbers are one, and they're one big area. Electricians aren't like that. They have 237, and then there's 41. And I was one of those guys once that sat there, and people came in from another city and worked before I did. I just want to make sure that every opportunity is there for these people to have a job. Thank you.
Tony, I was going to say that exactly the way you did. I agree with you. Any comment? Chris is an electrician, and so
I was going to say the same thing. I'm a 237 member. I still am. I still hold my ticket, so I'm going to be right in the same workforce, trying to make sure every guy on site is 237.
Yeah, Chris is a darn good electrician and darn good at what he does too. So we hear you, Mr. Pareto, and I feel the same way. I mean, this board, by the way, the only school board that insists on that kind of a thing with a PLA. They know it. Tony has been with us for almost 10 years on projects, and he will not let that not occur. So I'm excited. Earl, good?
You may remember during the D-scope, one of the reasons we got such a favorable number on our electrical contractor was because of what they stated was they have people on the bench that they're coming off of jobs in Niagara County right now that they want to put back to work. And they fit perfectly how they're closing out jobs now and wanted new work. So you're right, you're spot on, Mr. Pareto.
I just one last compliment, then we'll move on. Our bids came in lower than we had anticipated. When I reported to you, other bids came in 35% over. That's a credit to CPL and BCC, who really pushed this project in the construction world. And we got multiple bids for many things. So congratulations there. Now let's get to work, right? Moving forward, we have a treasurer's report, a budget status report. I'm going to have Maria come up in a moment. If you don't mind, we'll go through all of these here. The short-term contract grid remains the same. You know, we added one verbally last month that was digging into diversity. That was 8 days of training at Abbott and Gaskill out of an F code by the National Federation for Just Communities. That is number 7. Rick is overseeing that with those 2 schools who have requested that. So that is now on there. We did tell you about that verbally. Everything else we've gone through before. Moving to the resolutions. You're going to hopefully accept grant funds totaling $1,221,679. One is for early college, and the other grants are for mental health supports, more mental health supports for the district. 604, I don't know what to say other than what Mr. Petrozzi said last week. We continue to waste time trying to clarify our name change. We are making some progress with the help of Becky, Maria, and Stan to get the system. And oh God, King Richard has also been on the phone trying to get this taken care of as well, to get this name change. It's like, we're the city school district of Niagara Falls. Okay, that's what it is. We're not going away. We've been here for 118 years. It's paperwork, it's frustrating, and I'll let it go. Hi, Mike. The disposal, Judy wants to get rid of the ballots. 606. These are appointments of committees for the district code of conduct. We did add some student names to them from Gaskill. That's the only change that happened. So they're all the same. 609 is Judy's need to publish the date and time of the election on the 21st. Nothing changed there, Jude?
No, just the location of the Board of Registration to this building for added convenience.
610 is a very popular resolution, and I am sorry it did start on Saturday, but this is Niagara County Community College having a parent class at Bond Primary School. It's for not to exceed $1,000. We have 14 parents registered for a 3-hour college credit course, and 3 more signed up this week. So we're at 17 parents across the district taking a college course. We're paying for this out of family engagement money, community engagement money. Why does it have to be Niagara Falls parents? Because it's to increase the parent education level so they can help us increase their children's level. People have asked me, why can't I take it? Because if you have a child in the district and you'd like to, you can. But if you live not in the city and you don't have a child in the district, you can't. Because we're using money from a grant to pay for this to support it. I've been asked that question and haven't invited anybody outside the city to take it. The class can take up to 20. We have 17 enrolled. This would be the last weekend that we would take any more enrollees. That's 20 parents for $1,000 getting a 3-hour college course. 611 is the same thing. It's not a college course, however, but it is with Niagara University to teach a course to our English as new language parents. We've done this is the 4th semester we've done this, and it is well attended by our ENL parents. It's every Saturday morning around 10:30 at Abbott, and it's been going on for almost 2 years. 612 is the approval of some confidential settlements that we have discussed in great detail in previous meetings, and Mr. Petrozzi will read them 1 through 5. He'll introduce that resolution to you. I'm sure it'll be a separate resolution. 613 and 614 and 615, 616, 617. These are the contracts that go along with the bids at the beginning. So at the top, you accept the bid. In here, you accept the contract to the company. So if you agree to the bid, then here's the contract. These are standard contracts we've been using over and over again. There's nothing untoward, nothing different in them, but that's where the contracts fall. We are at, I'm sorry here, 620 and 621. These are 2 payments. I'm looking at our team. I'm sorry, these are 3 payments. The first one is for CIR. They're our electrical contractor. This is $23,841.19. These are on the American Rescue projects that are going on right now at Niagara Falls High School, Kelfis, and Bond. The second one is for Johnson Controls. These are temperature controls, $32,490.61, paid for by American Rescue funds for approvable costs related to the air quality in those 3 schools I just articulated. And 622 is for D.V. Brown, same reason, HVAC work, $48,450 flat. The work has been checked over by Earl and certified by Buffalo Construction Group and our architect. I'm asking you to take 701 off the table. This policy has received no comments. This is the policy where we're asking and was requested by Ms. Velardo at the high school to raise the mandatory age to stay in school till 17 years from 16. It would take effect immediately. There were no comments positively or negatively. You did give it more than 30 days on the table, and it was something that the high school asked, and we see very little downside as we try to improve our graduation rate. We have meetings on February 8th and 22nd. We've got a couple of presentations. F-Bites, you've heard of before. They want to show some of their wins. The Stanford College course is asked to come and speak. I'm going to have them then. We'll talk more about the budget, which I'll get into, and then we'll plan for the 22nd. After that, at the conclusion of that, if there's no more questions, I would ask Ms. Massaro to come through and discuss the personnel report.
Everybody should have the report. Okay. Beginning with the certificated report, we do have some asterisked items. You'll see the resignation of a music teacher on the first page. And then on the second page, you'll see the hiring of a music teacher. As you move forward through the report, the next time you're going to see changes is in schedules B, C, D, E, F, and G. Does anybody have any questions regarding the changes to the certificated report? Thank you. Moving on to the classified report. You'll see the resignation of an assistant child care associate on page 1 of 7. On page 2, you'll see the appointment of an assistant child care associate. And you see some temporary appointments there, senior school monitor and a school lunch monitor at Cataract. Then picking up on page 3 of 7, these are change of status. These are people who are moving from probationary appointments to permanent appointments because they have earned that through their time and good work. And then coming on to page 7 of 7, the only other change there is some additional training in autism listed there. Does anybody have any questions about the classified report? And then we have an addendum to both reports, a personnel report addendum. You'll see an appointment of a licensed clinical social worker district-wide and the approval of an employment contract for our human resources manager. Any questions? Thank you.
Prior to, Mr. Petrozzi, members of the board, prior to that report, I'd like to make a comment, if I could, with respect to the human resources / information services person, and talk a little bit about her, if that would be okay with you. Sure.
Ray, is anybody else hearing that humming? It's really not great. Can we figure that out before we can?
I think it's some equipment starting and going through its cycle. Yeah. We can try.
Can't even focus on what you guys are saying. Is it just me?
We'll try to lower the.
It's my fault. I put it in your head. Now you notice it.
Maria, I have a quick question, Maria. On that addendum, it's listed on the classified or just it's on its own? Really?
It's not a classified addendum.
So I'll just bring the addendum in on its own? On its own, we'll call it 4.071. I'll figure it out.
You're getting in my head. I don't hear the ring. Now I hear it. Pardon my use of my cell phone. I don't like to have cell phone in the meeting ever. I apologize. However, on the line, seems like I'm calling somebody great, and I am. Rebecca Holliday. Can you hear me, Becky?
I can, thank you.
Okay, great. So I never like to have a cell phone in a board meeting ever, but when I call Becky, it's worth it. So Becky is on the phone. She couldn't be with us tonight, but she's on the phone. And the reason she's on the phone is because she loves me, but I'm doing the budget alone, and she just wants to make sure I don't ever step out of line on the budget. Is that correct, Becky?
I trust you never will.
All right. Well, how I'd like to conclude this review session board members, is to talk about the first iteration of the 24-25 school budget. But before I talk about that, I'd like to make some comments. And I'd like to be very blunt, as I always try to be. God bless you. First of all, this is the governor budget. As you know, there's governor's budget, there's legislative budgets, and then there's a final budget. Many times recently, they've been one and the same. I am hoping, for the purpose of the kids in this city, in this state, that this is not the final budget, because it is extremely, extremely neglectful in terms of supporting school children. Extremely neglectful. And I just would like to tell you why. We had Cynthia Jones here a couple of weeks ago speaking about some outstanding graduation requirements that are coming. To juxtapose those unbelievably forward-thinking graduation requirements and to put forth a budget like this is completely incongruous and completely unacceptable in my mind. Secondly, we have been fighting to the tune of a lawsuit where you, the board members, have spent $609,000 fighting and suing the state of New York to follow a formula that is in law called the foundation aid formula. And to have it completely ignored in this budget is unconscionable. To believe that we just spent millions of dollars in COVID relief money and to have a budget that coincides with what people say the end of COVID is, thinking that our kids are now past COVID, completely ignores the reality of kids in Niagara Falls and in this state. COVID is over with in terms of the major part of it. But we have not recovered and will not recover for years, especially when we see where our youngest children are, first, second, and third grade, because of the 18-month remote learning. And to juxtapose it with a budget like this, that's like putting good money in front of bad follow-up. To realize the safety and security that you have spent in this district and that you are approving through a capital project, a separate fund, and to realize that we can't do everything through that capital fund, but have to keep bringing in more safety measures, completely ignores that. To think that we were celebrating finally following a foundation aid formula and completing and ignoring it, to the point where there's a clause in it called hold harmless that doesn't apply to us, that applies to many districts in this region, and saying we're not doing it anymore? I don't understand it. I do not understand it. To have a CPI that is in January 4.2, 4.21, and to even say that we're going to get a 2.4 raise in the education funding is about almost 2 percentage points out of whack in my poor math calculating mind. So I have to tell you, members of the board, viewing public, members of the community, staff, this is not a good budget that's been put forth by the governor. It does not follow the foundation aid formula budget. And I think if you visited 634 other school district meetings, their superintendent may be saying the same thing. This is really a step back in education funding and a complete abdication of following the law. There's no relevance here to taking the last 10 years, throwing out the highest and the lowest and giving us an amount of money. I don't know where that would, I missed that law. I missed that law. So, being positive, it's only January 25th, and there's a lot of work to be done. We met with our legislative officials and gave them the same message last Saturday. There's a lot of work to be done. And what the legislators told us is that they agree, both Democrat and Republican, they agree. And they encourage us to have parents and communities. They know, I think they know what a school board member's position would be. I think they know what a superintendent's position would be. But this is going to impact kids. And I think the most powerful group are parents and communities to say that, you know, this budget, the way it stands, is going to lead us to a very, for the first time in a long time, a very big gap that we will be working the next 2 or 3 months to try to resolve before we put it to you in March or early April for your final approval to go to the voters on May 22nd. How did I do, Becky? I got a little riled up. Okay, anything you want to say?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, thanks. I got a little riled up there.
Mark, I have a question. I have not seen the budget, but I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, she appointed $2.2 billion for migrants?
No, not worse. And please take my comments as I state them. This is not an issue or a referendum for me on migrants.
No, me neither. It's just,
She appropriated $2.4 billion. 2.4, that's a B. $2.4 billion for the migrant issue.
The majority of that came out of educational.
Well, it looks like we got hit the hardest. I have not studied the arts, healthcare, or anything like that, but it looks like it had to come from somewhere, Mr. Capizzi, and my feeling is it's coming out of education. And I'm not being sarcastic, but those 7,011 students are here in our schools right now. They're walking around in our schools. And I understand the migrant issue. But you're right, Mr. Petrosi. It was, the budget as it was proposed has $2.4 billion for migrants. So, what we've done, and we've got some more work to do, is you know this formula, you know this template. Becky and I will continue to work at it. What I really want to show you right now is there's the 181, that's what we start with. If you could scroll up, I just want to show you, this is the revenue side, right? This is the revenue side. And these are the foundation aid is there, but it's offset by a loss in BOCES aid and excess cost aid. And those are negatives that offset the foundation aid. And Ray, if you'd scroll down to the bottom, I just want everyone to see this. $489,741 is what our increase in aid is from one year to the next. $489,741 from more money. $480,000. That's concerning. That is the lowest I've ever seen it in my career, or my 16 years in central office doing this. What we haven't done for you is on the other side, Ray, if you'd go down. Now, what you'll have to do, what we're going to do before the next meeting, is figure out all of the salaries and from all the units. We're going to go person by person so we get an exact amount, rolling forward everybody we have to project the number. Now, it's no secret that every unit gets contract raises. They all deserve them. It's no secret that those raises are between 4% and 5%. I recommended them to you. They're in there. In addition to that, you have various other contracts that are going to increase. It could be for occupational therapy and physical therapy, whatever the contract might be. You have utilities that we haven't even begun to talk about. There is going to be a transportation increase, tuitions, etc. The only thing that we've been able to do with some clarity is make some estimates on band interest, how much we're going to pay back from debt service. I believe we've estimated on the health right now a 5% increase for the actives and a 7% increase for the retirees. We think that those are conservatively pretty accurate. And then some, now these negatives, let me explain these negatives here to you. These are things that we have to take out. All of these we did this year, but we put in the budget last year. A raise working on new building projectors, professional development for the new whiteboards, the installation of the new boards, the whiteboards behind the old boards, wireless access points, new desktop, all of these are coming out. CPL did our building condition survey. We did the boilers and the fire suppression system. We did those with general fund money, if you remember. They'll come out of the expenses, so that's a good thing. But so when we do all that, we're at 178 versus 181. What haven't we put in there? The salaries and the increases and those other areas, the advances in contracts, et cetera. So all I would ask you to do in your head, if you want to, start adding those numbers up. And let me tell you, it's not going to equal 181, 993, 940, 949. Then you could see that number is going to be significantly higher, and that will be our gap. I hope that makes sense. When we finish going person by person and add up all of that, and remember, folks, we are a district that is a people-oriented district. That's what we are. We're people. We have 1,452 employees. You employ 1,452 people. They all get salaries, they all deserve salaries, and they get raises. They all deserve raises. Start figuring that budget, roll it forward with the increases, and you can start to imagine what you're going to see on February the 8th. We need help from the legislature. And I have to say this right now, and this is your call, but one of the things that I don't ever feel that we need to do is recommend a tax increase. I just do not feel with a budget this size that we need to recommend a tax increase. I think that it's my job, it's my responsibility to get this done without raising the tax levy 1 cent more. I really mean that. I'm not falling on my sword. I'm not being a hero. I'm not doing, it's just, you know the city we live in. It's just, and it's what I believe. If we can't run a district for $182 or $3 million, then you should get a different person here. We should be able to present it to you. So you'll always have that option, and Becky will talk to you about how much you can raise by raising it 1%. It's usually, if my memory serves me, about $249,000. God, if you raised it 4% and went way over the cap, you could raise $1 million. Why would we ever do that? It's not worth it. But it will be your option at some point. It will be your option. Don't want to say that. The other thing is, it's a very big misnomer that the tax cap is 2%. Ours could be negative. When you, help me here, Beck, when you start figuring in debt service and the formula, we could actually be in a negative tax cap situation this year, meaning that we'll need a supermajority of the voters because of that terrible law. So, yeah, so I'm worried about that as well. I'm not worried. We'll get through anything. But I want to make you aware of everything that's going on in our minds. Let me give you some good news. Well, let me finish and say it's going to be a tough year, members of the board, members of the community. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough year. We're going to get it done, but we need some help. But it's going to be a tough year, a very tough year. I want to give you some good news, board members. Can you go either? This is some good news. This is kudos to you. And I believe that the public and you should know this. There's no reason, because anybody could find this. You can go dig through a document and pull out these numbers if you wanted to, but these are your reserve funds. You have demonstrated a fiscal responsibility to establish, look at those reserve funds. Now, many of them are limited in what you can use them for, but you do have reserve funds. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but, and those are rainy day funds, but we may have a tsunami coming. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Yeah, Mike.
Are those in interest-bearing accounts with the current high interest rates?
Becky, how are the reserve, is that actual money? The question was, where are those accounts? Is that actual money? Are they gaining interest?
Those reserve funds are utilized in our regular bank accounts, and It's not always sitting for interest. But if you look up above, there is an increase in interest in the anticipated revenues.
There you go.
It is because we have been investing when we can based on cash flow. Because it costs us more to borrow.
I mean, there is options with, I mean, on the 10 million alone, at 5%, which you get a one-year bond at, I mean, it's $500,000.
Right, and we are limited on what we can do, Mr. Capizzi, but I can break that out for you and get that information to you.
In the past, Mike, we've had to take short-term borrowing to cover cash flow because the state funding comes in after we pay it.
So what you're saying is that you have to have access to it
Correct.
being liquid.
Yes.
But you can put it into investments that are liquid.
That,
And you
no,
have
no,
access to
we
capital.
will definitely
And
should
my
take it.
point is that even just on the 10 million alone, if you lock it up at 5%, where you have access to pull it out at all times, there's that 1% tax number
Absolutely.
we're already talking about.
Absolutely.
Or half of that. And that's just looking at that
Yeah,
number.
as long
real
as
fast,
we can
not
take it out, that would be fantastic. Some of the new vehicles that are out there.
Yep,
Good thought.
possible. So I
And I
get,
think we should explore that option. I mean, if,
hey, everything has to be on the table, everything. So I don't ever want to be, I'm not trying to be negative, I'm not trying to be a downer, but I'm going to be honest with you. We have to be honest. So that's good news. Next steps. Every meeting, every school board meeting, we will continue to fill in those blanks. See where the blank, anything that is association there, that's good work, Ray. That's you? That's good work, Ray. Where Ray's doing the gray, we're going to fill them all in. We need some work, we need some time, but we'll fill them in. And where we don't know exactly, like I'm sure utilities, Becky and Earl are going to make a good, solid, educated guess on how much to increase. Some places we just don't know, and we've had a history of making educated guesses. That would be the next step, to fill in the grays, or the grays that Ray was doing. And what you're going to see then is a difference at the bottom. Scroll up, Ray. If the 181, let's just pretend the 181 equaled the 181, we'd be balanced, and I think we'd be ready to go. It's not going to. It's not going to. Does that make sense? Mrs. Dunn, I see you shaking your head. Does that make sense to you? Okay. I just want to, I am just a substitute budget manager, filling in for substitute pay. I just want to make sure I'm explaining it clearly enough. So all I could tell you in conclusion is we'll fill the grays in, and that projected appropriation is going to exceed the projected revenue. And what that number is, I don't want to guess. I'd ask you to give me the next 2 weeks, but it's going to be larger than you're used to seeing. Rebecca, any other comments on the budget?
No, not at this point in time, because like you said, there's a lot of work to be done, and in fact, the tax cap, we just got some of the necessary information to do that calculation late today. So that will be available next meeting, and all of, we'll fill in a lot, and it's a piece, it's a liquid document. You know that. It's a fluid document, and it changes rapidly, so there's a lot to discuss.
So we want to give you your first look. It's early. I stated what I had to state about the budget. We need support. I want everyone to know it's going to be a tough budget year, but I also want everyone to know we're going to make it work for our kids. We will make it work for our kids. Becky, thank you very much. I think next week you could be superintendent, and I trust you to do that, okay? Take care. I'm going to hang up. All right. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to hang up on you. Okay, bye-bye. Members of the board, that's all I have in terms of preparation. I know there's 10 minutes. I don't know if you have any questions, or you'd like any more information, or you'd like to take a little stretch break.
to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of our community. We ask for your continued blessings, dear Lord, as we all say thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Judy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Mr. Bass, are you there? No? Yes?
Just Paul? Okay. Mr. Bilson? Here. Mr. Kinsemi? Here. Mr. Capizzi?
Here.
Mrs. Dunn? Here. Mr. Cadella? I'll circle
He's
back.
there.
Mr. Pareto?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cadella. Mr. Pareto? Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
I am here, thank you.
Let's see.
Mr. Cadella, I am going to assume your votes are all yes. If they are not, please let me know. And if there's any close votes, please stop me and let me know so we can make sure the count is correct. And if there's any change or any one that I missed, let Judy know at the end of the meeting or tomorrow. That way we won't have to wait for the delay. Okay, I have several speakers, but they're not agenda items, so I will take them at the proper time. Moving on to recommendations of from the superintendent. 401 and 402 together. 01 is the minutes. 02 is the budget transfer number 6. Thank you, Mr. Bilson. Thank you, Mr. Velardo. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. These are approval of bids. They're all bid number 11. Contract 100, Contract 122, Contract 123, Contract 123B, Contract 123C, and Contract 126. Thank you, Rob. Second, Tony. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thank you. We will take the treasurer's report and budget status report. We will receive them and we filed them. We will take 4.06 as the personnel report certificated. Motion by Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Kinsemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. We will take the personnel report classified as 4.07. Thank you, Mr. Kinsemi. Second, Mr. Pareto. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass? I'm sorry, Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Kinsemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thank you. We will ask for an addendum to come in, which will be 4.071. I have a motion to bring the addendum in. I have Mr. Velardo on the motion, Mr. Kinsemi on the second.
Mr. President, may I make a comment at this point, please?
Well, let me bring it in. Then
I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
Proper procedure, Mr. Laurie.
I just get excited.
Motion in the second. We have the second. Okay, Mr. Laurie, question.
No, I was just calming myself down. So excited. Thank you. Board members, I'm recommending this contract. This is a contracted position now. I'm recommending to you your acceptance of this position for Miss Alicia Savino to become a contracted employer with additional job responsibilities and duties. I just wanted to say a couple of things about Miss Savino, who is here with her husband Dan, that she deserves to hear before you vote on this resolution. First of all, I want to thank Miss Savino and her husband for sending her children to our schools. She has a lovely daughter who attends LaSalle Prep School and a fantastic son who I believe is in 11th grade. I met him when he was in 6th grade, and he came to my office to appeal for himself, not with either of those parents. He came into my office, scheduled an appointment, appealed to be in the honors program because he wasn't, and promised me that he would not let me down if I allowed him in the honors program. I'll never forget that for a young man in 6th grade to do it. I let him in, and he has exceeded our expectations. Not only that, he's one of our best baseball players in our school. So I really appreciate that. He doesn't. I don't think he bowls, Nick, but he's a great baseball player. Aside from her children, I just want to tell you that. And Maria could speak more to this because she works day to day with Alicia. The way our health benefit systems run, and when you have 1,400 employees, there are challenges. The way different facets of the Human Resources Office operate, and Maria would agree with me, I know, are not just because of Maria and the staff, but because of Ms. Savino. Something that she has taken on willingly is more work in the Information Services Department. And as you know, Ray, unfortunately, had 2 retirements of phenomenal workers named Cacciatore and Friedhoff. You don't replace them. This is an attempt to give Ray some support and to expand her job duties along the lines of information services in a certain segment of that work, while keeping all of her human resources duties and more that we're going to give her. So I, without any reservation, recommend your approval of her contract this evening. And I'm glad and always feel better about her involvement, especially in health benefits and computer work that she does along those lines, because I know it's done accurately, it's done timely, it's done efficiently, and we need more workers like her. So I recommend her without reservation for this contract. Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, thank you. Call the roll. I'm bringing the addendum in.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Addendum added.
Okay, let's vote on the addendum. Thank you, Mr. Bilson. Mr. Velardo, second. Call the roll, please. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Show me a yes on Alicia Savino and show me an abstention on Kevin Burgess.
Yes, sir.
Please. 4.01 and 4.02 will together the reports from the Committee on Special Ed and Preschool Special Ed. Mr. Consemi? Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. And moving on to 4.1, we have short-term contracts. We have the Hilton Garden Inn. We have DNF Travel Prep, DNF Travel Prep again, and DNF Travel Prep on number 4 again, Niagara University. Reverend Gene Copland, and National Federation for Just Communities is number 7. Mr. Consemi, Mr. Bilson, any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Moving on to 4.11, the Head Start reports. Need to move. I need a motion and a second to accept, please. Mr. Bilson, Mr. Consemi. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, thank you. New business, 601 to 603 we'll take together. These are acceptance of funds from Pathways in Technology, school-based mental health, and also student mental health support grant. Thank you. Mr. Consemi and Mr. Bilson on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, funds accepted.
Thank you. 6.04 is the affirmation of establishing the official legal name of the school district as City School District of the City of Niagara Falls. Maybe the state can figure it out. Mr. Bilson on the motion, Mr. Pareto on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 6.05 for the approval so Judy can throw out all unused ballots.
Move.
I have a motion by Mr. Bilson, Mr. Consemi on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Appreciate it. These are 606 to 608 are approval for appointments to committees. One is the District Code of Conduct Committee, District-wide Safety Team, and the last one is School Safety Teams for the annual review of buildings. Mr. Bilson, Mr. Velardo on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. Just for the audience, we've been working on these items for the last month, so it seems that I'm going through them very quickly. It's not that we didn't give them due diligence. We've spent hours on these. I just wanted everyone to know that. Moving on to 6.09, this is the approval of the Board of Registration designation day and hours of, this is for our election. Mr. Bilson, Mr. Consemi on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. We will take 6.1 and 6.11 together. These are contracts, one with Niagara County Community College and one with Niagara University. Mr. Consemi, Mr. Pareto, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. 6.12, parts 1 through 5. Mr. Bilson? Mr. Velardo, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we are going to vote on appointing the contractors to the bids that we approved earlier. They're all contract 100. 6.13 is bid 11. 1.4 is 122. 1.5 is 123A. 6.16 is 123B, along with 6.17 is 123C, and 6.18 is contract 126.
Move it.
Mr. Pareto on the motion. Mr. Consemi on the second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. 6.19 and 6.1, excuse me, 6.19 to 6.21. These are payments. Payment number 6, which is 619 is CIR. 6.20 is Johnson Controls. And 6.21 is to DV Brown.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Pareto, second by Mr. Consemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass? I'm sorry, Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. Number 7, our proposed policy, we're going to have a motion to take that one off the table. That's the entitlement of age in high school. Mr. Consemi votes to take it off the table. Mr. Velardo seconds it. All in favor to take it off the table?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, can we vote on 7.01? Motion, please.
Move.
This is,
Move.
okay, I got the motion from Mr. Velardo, second by Mr. Pareto. This is to change the age to 17, right, Mark?
Yes, sir. This is to raise the compulsory age for students to stay in school from 16 to 17. You left this on the table for over a month. There were no negative or positive comments, and I think it is just another tool, as requested by Ms. Velardo, to keep our kids in school longer and improve our graduation rate. So I fully recommend this policy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lori. Any questions?
Yeah,
Call the roll. You got a question? No, do you have a question? I'm sorry, Mr. Consemi. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes,
Policy
thank you
adopted.
very much, Judy. Okay, moving on to the oral communications. I have several speakers tonight. 3 minutes. I'm going to hold you to 3 minutes. I'm going to let you know at 2 minutes 45 seconds. At 3 minutes and 15 seconds, I will ask you to step away from the podium. Ray, start the timer after they give their name and address. First up, Reverend Chambers. No? Okay. Deacon Gibbs. No? Helen Coleman. Hello.
My name is Helen Coleman, with the Men Center Strong Together. And we have a concern about the amount of children. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. We have a concern about the amount of children that's in the pre-K classes. We know that children is easily distracted. The least little thing, and they get distracted, and it's hard to get them back on track. So we were talking about downsizing of the classrooms. And we also talked about our young adults that are graduating. A lot of them that's graduating, they can't read. And we know that education starts at home. It's up to the parents to get their children started on reading and learning and writing their name and everything. But then there's some parents, like I mentioned times before, these parents are not that much older than their children. And they like the same music, the same clothes, the same food, the same everything. And it's more playing at home and with the children than trying to teach the children. And when children get into pre-K, they should already know something, a little something anyways. And my children taught their children how to write their names. It's scribbly, but you can know it's their names. And we need to try and educate our children better. We need to prepare them better for tomorrow. There's so much crime that's going on in the streets, and when the kids are in school, if they can't read and they're graduating from high school, I asked a young lady at the high school, she was graduating, and she was talking about her gown that she was gonna wear. So I said, what are your plans when you graduate? She said, what do you mean? I said, what do you plan on doing? You going to college or what? No, I'm not going to college. I don't have time for that. But our children are going to school, graduated, and can't read. One girl didn't even know what timetables were. I said, if you know your timetables, you can at least add and subtract. She said, what is that? And she's graduated. Don't mean to point fingers at anybody, but to me, our school system is failing our children. We need to do something different so the kids will have a direction in life, have a goal in life, something they can do that will forward their tomorrows. And the way the system is going now, our children they're losing. We're losing them. We're losing them to the streets, we're losing them to drugs and everything else out there that's not gonna forward their tomorrow for a better life. I grew up on a farm, and I can just about tell you everything it is about a farm, because my father taught us what to do, how to act, and where to go, where not to go. So we ask you to try and do something different with our pre-K children. Lessen the amount of children that are in the classroom. There's too many children. 20 kids is too many kids in one classroom with one teacher. She can't teach them. She's babysitting those kids. She's not teaching them. She can't. She don't have the time. There's too many in the class, and they're there alone. So we're asking you to do something about the system. Give help to the teachers that are in the classroom. Do something so these children will have a chance in life for tomorrow. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Helen. Ashley Walker with Portland Jackson on deck.
Good evening to all the board members. My name is Ashley Walker, and I currently reside at 4300 Pine Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York, 14301. I wanted to discuss a few reasons why Niagara Falls schools should have smaller classrooms. Number one, better classroom management. It is easier for teachers to manage and maintain discipline in smaller classrooms. With fewer students, teachers can establish strong classroom routines, foster a positive classroom climate, and provide a safe and structured learning environment. Number 2, improve student performance. Smaller class sizes can lead to improved academic performance, higher test scores, and increased graduation rates. Students in smaller classrooms often show higher levels of engagement, motivation, and achievement. Number 3, customized instruction. Teachers in smaller classrooms can adapt their teaching methods and strategies to cater to the needs of individual students. They can provide more personalized feedback and address any specific challenges or difficulties faced by students. I wanted to share an example of what my daughter goes through in a larger classroom. My daughter is currently in the 2nd grade. Her classroom has 26 students per teacher. The conversations we have whenever she has issues with the students shows me how much the teacher does not know what's going on in the classroom most of the time. During class, my daughter was the target of a bullying event, when a fellow student made disparaging remarks about her or used hurtful language to make fun of her. Because of this, she has experienced emotional, mental, and general academic effects. At times, she has refused to attend school. As a parent, I would address these situations to the teacher whenever they would occur, and the response that they would tell me is that I was unaware of this situation and I will handle it right away. Even though it was resolved, it still shows that the teacher had no knowledge of what was happening in the classroom, lacking the attention of the students. I wanted to utilize this an example to highlight the drawbacks of switching from larger to smaller classrooms and how it is negatively affects students' academic, emotional, and social well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Portland Jackson. Gloria Dolson on deck.
Greetings, board members.
Hello.
Superintendent. How's everybody doing? So I'm just here to piggyback a little bit.
Name and
off-
address, Portland, please, for the record.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
552 16th Street, Portland, Jackson.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So I'm just here to piggyback a little bit off of what was said earlier by our previous members about reading and overcrowding and smaller classrooms. So I'm going to just touch base on statistics with the National Center for Education Statistics. A classroom is considered overcrowded when it exceeds 5% of the building's design capacity. So basically, if you take the number of classrooms times the maximum capacity of students for that classroom will give you the total classroom capacity. So if you have 20 students and you have a maximum of 15 or 25 or whatever, it will give you the amount of each student should be in that classroom. And I also want to say that a classroom, here are some of the overcrowding that can affect learning. Some of those things can affect the students' learning. Greater noise and distractions. The increased noise level can make it harder for kids to concentrate, affecting learning outcomes and more difficult for teachers to focus, leading to more stress and possible burnout. I have a photo. It's just a little cartoon photo. I want to show you what some of the burnout may look like. Secondly,
sounds like my wife.
Less personalized instruction. The greater the number of students in the classroom, the less attention each student can receive from the teacher. This impacts learning outcomes as these students are more likely to have lower test scores and grades as a result. And final, increase in disciplinary problems. Teachers in overcrowded classrooms often devote more time to dealing with behavioral issues and less time to teaching, something no teacher desires. It is important to note that overcrowding can also lead to poor building or environmental conditions, such as poor air conditioning, heating systems, lighting, ventilation, indoor air quality, acoustics, noise control, and physical security. also possible increases in illness risk. And just to show you what some of the overcrowding look like, here is some Simpsons of this is the classrooms. So I want to say thank you, and hope you all can take a look and give it some thought to what our current classroom situation size is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gloria Dolson? Pardon me? I'll come back to them. You're up. Pardon me? You're up. Out of respect for Reverend Chambers, I'm going to let him go last. He's our elder.
I think we're out of time anyways. I'm sorry, I don't even know who this is. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, happy birthday, and happy. Praise God. Praise the Lord. Well, good evening to all of you. First of all, I want to thank God for the opportunity to come before you and share some concerns.
Gloria, name and address for the record, please.
And I live at 1502 Ontario Avenue in
ma'am.
Niagara Falls, New York.
Thank
Praise
you.
the Lord. Men standing strong together believe that the answer to struggling students' success in smaller classroom sizes. It is a fact from data shown children in small classes have fewer disciplinary issues, better test scores, and enjoy attending school. Randomized controlled tests generally considered the gold standard in research design examining the effectiveness of class size reduction. These students found that smaller classes correlate with better test scores. In 1985, Tennessee launched an experiment. The student-teacher achievement ratio was called STAR project, in which 7,000 kindergarten students in 79 schools to classes of varying sizes. After 4 years, the students who were placed in small classes were between 2 and 5 months ahead of their peers in larger classes, according to the study in the academic journal Teachers College Records. It goes on to say that even after the students returned to full classroom sizes, students that were in the smaller groups continued to benefit, and by 8th grade, these same students were a full year ahead of their peers. Wisconsin in 1996 conducted a similar experiment, targeting schools serving low-income students and comparing adolescents in classrooms of 12 to 15 students in classrooms of 21 to 25 students. Again, students in smaller groups fared much better. The research is crystal clear that smaller class sizes lead to better student outcomes in every single way that can be measured. On the other hand, according to a Princeton University researcher, Black students seem to have benefited from smaller class size more than any other racial or ethnic group. We also believe that this could very well be some of the solution to ending special ed for many students. Students' dropout rate and also illiteracy. We realize it is not the end all, but it's a big beginning. And again, we're not pointing the finger at anyone. We just asking to give these babies a chance, and let's work together. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Deacon Gibbs with Reverend Chambers batting cleanup. Name and address for the record, please, Deacon.
Yes, I'm Deacon Gibbs. I live at 2113 Ferry Avenue here in Niagara Falls. First of all, Happy New Year and good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Panel and jury. I find myself again at a disadvantage. I don't have the paperwork with me. I wanted to bring each and every one of you individuals. When I was here, when I spoke in front of the panel last time, I had asked for a certain amount of monies for the kids and the activities that Men Standing Strong and Well, along with the Lions Club, have going on. I hope that the panel remembers, but if not, I can, this upcoming week, get each and every one of you individuals a copy of what that letter had asked. Next, let me say I want to thank Mr. Lorian and the panel for allowing me to go into the school. I got into Maple Walnut School to teach the Maple Avenue. Why do I'm thinking about the ice cream. Maple Avenue School.
We just renamed it. It's now called Maple Walnut School. Deacon Gibbs says that it's done. You went to Maple Avenue, but that's all right.
It's okay. I thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
To go inside the school and teach the chess club. The kids are learning at an alignment rate, as I told you guys when I spoke on that. It would help them in life journeys, and it's really been a big help for them. Finally, let me say that if I could get it started in other schools, it would be nice, including the high schools. There's so much I have to say, but I just want to say this, and I'm going to sit on 1 minute. The phones, I hope the cell phone ordinance has been passed, that there's no more cell phones in the high schools and in the elementary schools. I'm hoping so. And then, as I leave, as all my people before me, the Men Standing Strong, the smaller classroom, I think it would be advantageous for the kids to have that. And I think it would not only benefit the people of color, but it would benefit the kids in a whole. And I think that it's something that should be seriously considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir. Reverend Chambers, would you like to, you're signed up to speak, sir. Would you like to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Chairman. I take this privilege because I think facts speak for themselves. You can't argue against facts. The situation is that you have a problem, and to ignore that problem is to ignore the fact that there can be problems. And too long the years we as people have looked facts in the face and ignored them as if they don't exist. Now my friends, all of us are educated people. We are intelligent people. I worked in the classroom as a teacher. When they were short of teachers and didn't have enough money to pay for those that had, they called in people who didn't have any knowledge about classroom activities and really didn't care, but just there to make out a number. And I think we need to stop kidding ourselves. You know, I really, as a person, I've kind of gotten around the country, and I've had a chance to be around all kinds of people and situations. And I see so many things that just make me tired to see how we as an educated people ignore facts that are staring us in the face and have been staring us in the face for years. And we go and just, they don't exist. I had a great experience to be here in school with the students, you know, as an observer. Those who allowed us to go there, they knew why we were asked to go there. I wanted to go there. And finally, when we were able to see with them, in fact, people, stop kidding yourselves. That's the problem with America today. We are kidding ourselves, and look where we are, and just keep on ignoring the facts, my friends. We'll find out what happened to us. The students in the classrooms and in the cafeterias were happy, and I really enjoyed being there. learning about the psychological facts of life with young people and with grown people. And I found out the kids knew more than those who were supposed to be teaching them. So we need to go back to the facts in the classroom.
15 seconds.
And to see what's happening. Let us stop playing games and look facts in the face and be great Americans. And we'll get somewhere in the final analysis. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend. Thank everyone for the comments and thank you for your time constraints. Moving on, information and reports. I will start with Mr. Laurie.
Thank you very much. I do have a number of comments and updates, so please, in this very efficiently run meeting, please bear with me. First of all, speakers, thank you very much for your comments, and Ashley, I am sorry that your child had to experience that. I apologize, and I'm glad that you reported it to the teacher. I apologize for it having happened to your child. I'm impressed with the research that our speakers bring forward, looking in and gathering data and hard facts. I'm impressed because you do your homework. And something that was said was that I said this, you weren't here, we had a presenter, and I said one thing I can tell you about this community and this board, they insist on solutions and decorum, even from our community. And thank you, speakers, for having decorum and dignity in your speaking. We appreciate that. It's an example for others. Deacon Gibbs, congratulations on naming a school tonight. We want to thank you, but seriously, we want to thank you for going to Maple, and we will look for an expansion to another school. I know they're playing chess, but we'll get you to another school. Thanks for doing that. And if you get me that document, I will distribute it, okay? And it's always great to see our other friends, especially Gloria and the Reverend Chambers. You look well, so good to see you. I'll get to a comment about your speeches in a moment. I'd like to just begin by saying I have great hope with that presentation for Say Yes and David Rust. I hope you share in my excitement about that program, those 4 pillars, especially the free college. It's going to be a lot of work, and we have an aggressive timeline on that, but it will be a game changer for everyone. And it's not just free college. It's, as you heard, free certification courses, what have you. So thank you for your attention to that presentation. I would like to read something to you. This came from a coach. And there's a specific reason why I want to read this to you. As you know, for the last 2 years, we've been dealing with a situation with North Tonawanda School District. And we have kept our stamina in going, in getting to become understanding of North Tonawanda and Niagara Falls. And now we've added Niagara Wheatfield on February 6th. But this came from a coach of the wrestling team. And I'm going to just take excerpts up from it. At our dual league meet, we had to travel to North Tonawanda. A competitive match, 27-27, going into the final matches. Niagara Falls High School was able to secure a 42-27 win in wrestling. But that's not what really stood out. It was the atmosphere in the North Tonawanda gym. With all the negativity that surrounded our 2 schools on the soccer field or on the mat, in the last 2 or 3 years, even when racial remarks were made. It was so nice to see the sportsmanship at that wrestling match. We saw the handshake line filled with hugs, high fives, kids intermingling well after the match. While packing up our bench, I could hear the conversation between the North Tonawanda and Niagara Falls kids. They were enjoying each other's company. They were talking about their hairdos and summer expectations to get together and wrestle and train against each other in the summer. The effort, the effort that the 2 districts have made to bring the students together has made a difference in the culture. Coach Fire and Coach Gagron from North Tonawanda have created a positive environment for their team. We see big changes in the way these teams are interacting, and I wished to express this to you now. Stay warm. Congratulations, coaches of wrestling, Don McCoy and Josh Egan. I thought it was a nice email because of everything that we've been through with the two schools, and for them to realize that it's a testament to the schools and to the fact that we continue to work to bridge our differences and learn from our differences along the way. I wanted to tell everybody, especially those people that are watching, who continually have fishing and smithing expeditions against the district, that through Ray's department, we have started multi-factored authentication, meaning you got to go through a lot more hoops to get us. So please know, if you're listening and you're one of those people that watches these board meetings and you're trying to fish our district, Ray and the team are making it tougher to get us through the computers. I want to congratulate Judy Glasser. Judy initiated something with the election commissioners, Commissioner Laura Allen and Jennifer Sandinato, when we met the other day. And it was Judy's idea to try to encourage career pathways and civic readiness by suggesting that high school students become poll workers during elections. And we met with the commissioners, what was it, Tuesday or yesterday, Judy? Wednesday. And both commissioners agreed, and we're going to put together a platform and a program, another one of our pathways, that our high school students will become poll workers, not just for our Board of Education elections, but for all elections in Niagara County, Niagara Falls. No, that was the caveat, Niagara Falls. So through our Pathways program, we're going to have poll workers that are students. The point is civic engagement. The point is to encourage voting and getting involved. And our goal, the goal Judy and I have set, is to have at least one student to start. At least one student at every poll starting in the presidential election in November. So I want to thank Judy for leading that initiative. Nice job. Okay, a couple of trips. Back to my phone. Mrs. Velardo just texted me. Life skills. These Future Stars students have returned from Disney safely and had a great time at the leadership conference in Disney, our Future Stars. We are getting ready for our historically black college tour with 20 students from Niagara Falls High School. They are going to the 4 colleges in the Atlanta area, and we'll get a report back from them. And beginning on the 23rd or 24th of March, we are sending 12 of our students to Africa, Ghana, to help build boats for carrying merchandise across the water. 12 Niagara Falls High School students are going to do that. So a lot of great trips coming up for our kids. So just think of that, Future Stars in Disney World at a leadership conference of 20 students. 20 students to historically black colleges in Atlanta, and 12 to Ghana, Africa, to build boats during their Easter break. That's an easy 50, 60 students right there that are experiencing the world from Niagara Falls High School. Now, to the budget presentation and the speakers. First of all, let me give you the positive. The New York State Comptroller came out with his report this week, and it was sent to me, and he reports that when it's reported to the public, the controller will report that the district is under no designation for fiscal stress, 0 designation, the lowest points we've had since it's been done. We do have moderate environmental stress, and the reason we're rated at moderate environmental stress is because of our high poverty ratio, which we don't have much of a modicum of control over. But that's really positive. To the speakers that were here, I appreciate everything you said and understand where you're going and understand your points completely and support your points. What was presented before you arrived was a budget a year-to-year budget expansion of only $400,000 from the governor. It will be virtually impossible financially, and I hate to say that, and we'll have to find ways to do what you're saying. But if we don't get some more financial help from the state government in this budget season, we are really in for a very tough time. As we displayed, and I don't want to go through my whole presentation again, which is already on tape, we need help on this state budget. $489,000 increase is peanuts compared to the needs that we have. And that, whether we like it or not, and one of the speakers said, let's talk about facts, that's a fact that we're going to have to work through and deal with in the next 3 months. We will do it, but the governor's budget was not favorable to education. Let me repeat that. The governor's budget was not favorable to education. And I think you would ask 634 other superintendents, that's how many of them there are in the state, 635 of us, they all are going to feel this. And in many districts feel it worse than we explained. So please know that advocacy at the governmental level with money for school districts needs to come from the people. And we'll be calling on you and counting on you to reach out to government officials to get more money for schools. So we are always willing to listen and support what you're talking about, because you make good, solid, calm, rational sense. But this governor's budget is far from anywhere where we need. I want to thank the board members for accepting the resolutions this evening and passing them. Super excited that we're going to start putting people to work with our construction projects, and super excited about the increase of safety, the new greenhouse going up at Bond, the air conditioning that's going into the middle schools. And I want to thank you again for your service on the school board, and wish you a great deal of appreciation. Thank you, Mr. Petrosi.
Thank you. I'll start with Nick tonight. Thank you, Nick. Rob? Thank you, Rob. Jimmy? Thank you, Jimmy.
Superintendent, on Saturday, he did a wonderful job on his presentation. He tried to keep the rest of the other superintendents in line, which was almost impossible. But I want you to know that we are being represented to the best that we could ever ask for from anybody. And Mark, thank you for giving everybody all the facts about the budget.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. They wouldn't believe it, but I was the calmest one there. I was calm compared to the other ones. So you saw it, but it got pretty loud, and I was trying to be calm. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you much. Mike? Thank you, Mike. Gloria, excuse me, Clara? I'm sorry.
Wow.
Too late.
Hey, all I gotta say is thank God you're back.
Sorry,
Mr. Dunn.
Clara.
Thank God you're back.
Thank you.
Yes. And running. We expect you to run to the next meeting.
Paul Cadella?
Ollie?
No comment, Russ. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. How about you, Earl?
Sorry about the little hiccups that I had. I was watching along on YouTube, and I did tell Judy that I was a yes on the items that we voted on.
Thank you.
Other than that, I don't have any comment on it. Just, look forward to continue to put in the work, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. Tony?
I'll make it pretty brief. Again, Say Yes Buffalo coming, hopefully coming here and signing up with us. Huge, game-breaking, like Mark said, I'm going to use his quote. We're putting a lot of funds into our schools, still, no matter what happens with the governor's, whatever that is. It's not really a budget. But I will say this, again, is my pleasure to vote on, approve, to put local people to work, people that live in this city and people that live in this county. And what we have done over the last, since the 10 years that I've been on this board, it'll be almost 11 soon, the work that we have put into our buildings that never used to get put into our buildings. But proud to know that we have young people that are working in the trades, in the construction trades, that are doing it. And as a construction trade person thank you, and a staunch supporter of it, again, I am proud to know that we are spending these monies wisely and putting our people to work. And hopefully they'll get into the trades, and more of them now with this stuff going on will want to get into it. And I intend on, I talked to Mr. Laurie and Mr. Bilson about this. I intend on taking some time and going in through our schools. And I intend on selling these young people on construction trades, because where else can you make almost $100,000 a year on a job with benefits and with retirement? So that's just as well as we're doing the Say Yes, hopefully Niagara Falls. We will have all of our other programs that are in place. And the big thing is, I'm glad you folks are here, that we spread the word that we are open for business and we are here to help our kids. Thank you.
I think I have everybody, right? Just me? I'll be very brief. Thank you, Say Yes. Looking forward to it. Folks, on smaller class sizes, we have a battle this year. We're going to need your help. We'll ask for it. The first run of the governor's budget was horrendous. Saying that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and several people that are no longer with us, unfortunately, this is the part of the meeting I do not like.
Yeah, Mr. Petrosic, I have to say something. And I agree with you. I don't like this part of the meeting either. But on behalf of the current employees, past employees, everyone that passes, whenever they worked for us, it's sad. But last week we lost a current employee in the maintenance department. His name was Robert Nasca. I just have to tell everyone before you read this, what a great man he was. Bobby Nasca was a worker, started here as a temporary cleaner. And I think he started around just before COVID. And we're like, who is this gentleman running around the school wiping everything down by himself, from door handles to window frames, literally running to do that? Who is this man out at the fields when the little kids are waiting to play, raking the dirt, putting down lines, running to get them water because the dirt might fly with a little dust? Who is this man on graduation setup when there was a little dew in the morning for the afternoon graduation that took a towel and wiped down 4,000 chairs? The man was a nonstop worker, and the man was beloved by every person in this district, most especially the maintenance department that he worked with. It is a sad and tragic day when we have to read these passings to all of those families. But folks, this week we lost one of the great ones. Understated, quiet, hardworking, never refusing to help. His name is Robert Nasca, and I just want you to know that on behalf of all of the workers and the kids that probably would never know him, he's going to be missed more than you'll ever know. So thank you for allowing me to say that.
Thanks, Mark. Erin Adgerjack, niece of Central Office Secretary Michelle Brocious. Paul Fortunate, retired teacher and coach, loved one of Sherry Mastropiro. John Guerra, brother of Sue, brother-in-law of yours truly, and uncle of Ann Petrosi Burgess, speech teacher at Cataract. Edward Grace, retired English teacher. Sandra Gail Miller, retired member of the maintenance team. Robert Monty, retired special education teacher. Margaret Tuma, mother of Andy Tuma and Kathy Tuma D'Angelo, and mother-in-law of Jocelyn Tuma, grandmother of Brittany D'Angelo. Christian Volmy, nephew of Richard Schwartfager. Paul Rose, retired music teacher. Robert Nasca, loved one of Sherry Dulce, best friend of Russ Bettis, cousin of Russ and Sue Petrozzi, Ann Petrozzi Burgess and Kevin Burgess. And I would just like to add something about Bob Nasca. Just a quick word about Bob Nasca. Bob was a very unique individual. His nickname was NASCAR because of how fast he moved and how efficient he was. He had $1 million smile every day, no matter what. He never said no, he never complained. He's arguably one of our best maintenance people we've ever had. He raised our maintenance department to a higher level in the short time he was here. He is loved by all and sorely missed. Bob, rest in peace. Motion for adjournment. Jimmy? Rob? All in favor? Good night, everybody.